take Meta
Yeah.
for example. The average view time of each creative is around 1 to 2 seconds. So if you cannot catch this person's attention within the first second, you're basically long gone, right?
You found the Live Local Marketing Podcast, where business owners share their knowledge about what's working in the market today. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here at Live Local Marketing Podcast. We are with Kathie. Ma'am, how are we feeling today?
We are feeling great. Happy Tuesday. It's a Tuesday in the sunny Austin. So super excited to, chatting with you today.
That's awesome. All right. So we're going to do, Miss Kathie's got a huge array of background. So it's going to be a really fascinating conversation. We'll do a little bit about you, and then we'll just hop right into the questions. So Kathie has led growth inside global brands like Constellation Brands, Discover, Capital One, Shiseido. Did I say that one right?
Shiseido. So it's a cosmetics brand, Shiseido.
Got it. Pave, and in fintech unicorn companies. She's built systems used by Fortune 500 teams, managed multi-million-dollar budgets, learned that predictable growth, whether in markets or in business or in life, is engineered through clarity, identity, and the courage to take strategic risks. She's helped businesses of all sizes through Fortune 500, all the way through the small and medium-sized businesses. So our answers are going to be quite eclectic today. I'm excited. Are you ready?
We are ready. Thank you for having me here. Super excited. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Let's do this. All right. So talk to us about your first win as an entrepreneur.
Yes. So first win as an entrepreneur is, as you just mentioned, I came from Fortune 500 company background. So I learned things in a very structured and well-funded manner. So I had the fortune to be able to see a lot of bigger scales, different ways of people expanding their growth. And then right now as an entrepreneur, I know the sky is the limit. So for me, a lot of kind of navigating the process for me is a kind of speed up in a sense, because I already have some sort of Fortune 500 company format. So I know how to drive growth, how to set up structures. So those are essentially my first win being an entrepreneur. Just I started up faster than people probably shooting in the dark.
But those same strategies, you really probably can form them down and help any size businesses, I assume, just because Fortune 500s have this gigantic budget. Yes. Medium and small can still do these things, right?
Yes. So like you mentioned, Fortune 500 has gigantic budget, but not all the budget are in one bucket, right? So the good part of the Fortune 500 company business is if you have when you have a lot of budget, you dissect into small buckets to support business or the brands at the different growth stages. So I had fortune to be able to, in that environment, kind of supercharge the learning speed of learning business from all the different growth stages, and then use different level of budgets to drive scales for the brand. So that's kind of like my superpower, like in a boot camp environment, to learn all the marketing, the good ins and outs of the marketing, good, bad, and ugly.
Do you have a favorite child? Like, do you like small, medium, or bigger sized businesses? Who's your favorite child?
I have a very extensive experience in consumer brands. So I have particularly passion points into beauty, wellness, and also fintech. Okay. I just think fintech is pretty sexy. I'm a nerd. I love data. I love numbers. So fintech is something like anything about numbers, investing. I love it. So fintech is just, I have a particular passion points. It's my favorite, vertical. But then from brand perspective, I love Constellation's brand because I just had such a wonderful experience working there, and also tasting all the different products like Corona, Modelo, now America's #1 beer. So it's just very sexy. The product itself is a sexy product. So we use a lot of different, marketing to promote that, consumer desire, consumer perception. So those are very fun time for me. So that's just kind of my personal bias about the product.
Nice. That is pretty awesome. So you got a little bit of mix of data versus creativity. That's pretty cool. A lot of fun. All right. So you talked about budget a little bit. Let's get into it. So not everybody's got huge budgets. When you sit down with these medium or even not quite Fortune 500, how does that budget discussion look with them?
Yes. So I would love to kind of answer this question in different lens. So first when you're entrepreneur, when you're starting things from 0 to 1 and you have a limited budget. I think from budgeting perspective, I'm a nerd for numbers. So I love to tie everything into numbers. So I love kind of setting up the structure, a projection, or even, kind of a forecast in terms of how much ROI or ROAS you can get from your budget. So being able to kind of formulate in some sort of KPI associated with your goal will be really helpful at the initial stage of the entrepreneurship, because you need to have confidence in terms of every dollar spent you're turning into something, so you're not running out of the runway, or end up to be disappearing just because you have no more money to run your business. So that's the pre-seed, or like the initial stage of the entrepreneurship. But when you get into the more scaled budget, which is probably less possible like in the audiences, but then just in terms of how Fortune 500 companies structure their budget, we use this 7 20 and 10 structure. Is it 70% of the budget you're going to be put it in the try and true, or the top performing, either marketing tactics or business, like the best practices for your business, while you use 20% to continuous test and learn to make sure that you're expanding your audience, expanding your business scope. And the last 10% will be truly kind of innovation projects to put you at the forefront of a competition. So you're not really falling behind just because you keep on doing the things that's already been working for you. So that could be a good kind of like indicator for a lot of business that has a little bit more structured budget scenarios.
So being the data nerd, the 70%, how much time do you usually give a business to know what their 70% is? Because that might take some time. It doesn't happen right away. What's usually the time frame?
A quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
From the nerd perspective, to answer this question is usually, if I don't know about a business, but I'm pretty sure like all the the entrepreneurs or the business owners are much more familiar in their business than I do. So they probably have some sort of indicator in terms of what's been performing for them versus not. But for me, it's if I do work with the entrepreneurs, what I would do is really looking at the business performance historically, either from the past year or the past 3 years, and also how the projection looks like in the future. And then when I started working with the business, I do a lot of tests and learns in different scenarios, pulling budget here and there, and construct different test and learn strategies. Within 3 months, I can usually get the pretty good sense in terms of the marketing budget. So I would say 3 months is, for me, is kind of like the rule of thumb in terms of where you can start to get a basic structure of how your budget allocation could be. And we just continuously based on what we have the structured initially, and continues to test and learn and do more expansions and optimization, etc.
That's really awesome. All right, so it's a good number. So within those 90 days, talk to us about some of your current favorite marketing strategies that you're using these days.
That's a great question. I love that. So it really depends on the industry and also the target audiences that you're targeting, right? So B2B is definitely account-based marketing. You're stalking your clients, knowing all their best behaviors, where can you find them, who are their executives, right? So you're using all the different ways to outreach those customers. But for B2C, my personal favorite is paid media. So especially for info product, because I have some clients that are in info product places, for example, creator coaches, or like just like a coaches in general, or anything you need to generate leads online. Paid media is your best friend. Like you can see a very definitive correlation between your business revenue and paid media. So being able to have a really good paid media strategies, understand what to optimize, understand what to drive creative. Even creative has a whole playbook in terms of the best practices for different platforms. So if you can master all of that, you basically predict and also engineer your success. So that's my favorite tactics from customer based consumer business perspective.
I would even I'm going to follow up because I want to know, it's not in our questions here today, but video marketing, did you find that to be a more effective, if you're starting putting money behind those versus static images? What are you seeing the best growth? Which style?
That's a great question. Video tends to perform better than static because, right now everybody's attention span is so low. Take Meta for example. the average view time of each creative is around 1 to 2 seconds. So if you cannot catch this person's attention within the first second, you're basically long gone, right? So being able to develop a really, really good creative strategy to continuous catch, using strong hooks to lure your audience in, and using a great storytelling structure to continuously maintain their attention is your winning strategy on the paid media platforms. So essentially, long story short, that's just a lot of different way you can play around with it, but being able to master that is going to be your winning card.
Yeah, you do a lot of A/B testing, I bet. You sound like an A/B tester.
Yeah, I do ABCDE test. I'm like a maximum. Exactly.
Nice.
And that's the best part, because initially when I started as a junior marketer, I have this bias. Sometimes you think you do marketing, you know what your consumer wants. But after years of experiences, what I learned is that you can never predict, because people don't read minds. Even you don't even know what your partner or your husband or your wife is thinking, right? So how do you know the massive customers, what do they want and needs at the moment? So the best way to testify this is to really structure a great test and learn strategy in the true like a test and control environment, so you know exactly this variable drives your success and you can continuously doubling down your winning cards.
Nice. All right. So we're gonna shift gears a tiny bit. So I'm gonna challenge you a little bit, because you are very data oriented. You do a lot of ABCDE testing. So the cold side is there. You've got that mastered. Let's talk about a warm strategy. What are some of the things you're doing with people that already have a captured audience? How are you gonna keep them engaged?
I would like to say, like, kind of like marketing is a good balance of art and science. So from the cold strategy perspective, you structure, test and learn, you let numbers tell you what to do. But from warm strategy perspective, building likability, building some sort of face time with your audiences is also very important, especially in this generation that flocked with AI technologies, all the automations. You're getting overwhelmed as a consumer by all the different automation email outreach that you know exactly written by AI. So like nowadays, I can literally tell like some emails or some copies are written by AI, and I would just skip them, right? So like in this type of consumer behavior shift, if you can building a little bit of the you know kind of likability and the face time to actually talking to your consumer, either through your content or through webinar or through different ways of engaging with your consumers, answer their questions face to face, even virtually, it would create so much more likability and so much warmth in the conversation and the conversion funnel for your customers to building a little bit more trust in you and continuously engage with you towards the end.
That's awesome. Do you even do like email marketing? So let's say you got a group of people in your email. I'm sure you mess with that, because that's A/B testing dream right there. And I'm sure you love that kind of stuff. So what kind of things we doing in there to keep our attention?
Yes, before I joined, so I'm currently so I joined a new corporation at Foot Locker. So it's a retail marketing in fashion, like a retail industry. So before I joined Foot Locker, I don't believe email marketing as much. Like as an entrepreneur, email could be one of your biggest like kind of like money driver, but as a Fortune 500 company, for example, Constellation Brands and Capital One, we didn't use email as much just because consumers already converted themselves. But now I'm back into the retail marketing. That email and SMS has been one of our biggest drivers, just from digital perspective, because we also target consumers that has very, very impulsive decision-making process. So when they see something popping up on their Meta or Instagram platform, they click on it. And then when somebody send $20 off coupon for your shoes, like to your mobile phone, you click on it, right? So like it really depends on who are the consumers you're targeting, but emails and SMS has been one of our biggest drivers. So we are, and it's outperforming any of the channel that we have, which is incredible. So we are planning to double down and have more segmentation strategies to really understand the audience performance.
That is awesome. All right, that's great. So I can imagine, based on what you're saying now, what this next answer is going to be, but talk to us about some of your best habits and what makes you strong.
Yes. So my best habit, I would say data, and then being very structured on something. Like I think I have some unique capability. I'm a very creative person because I study advertising and marketing, and then I've been in marketing for over 13 years. So I have not done anything else. So I couldn't say I'm an investment banker or like finance guy, right? So I'm not numbers guy. or numbers girl, but I am very structured in a lot of way in terms of setting up like a A/B test to understand the in real time market performance for optimization. So my best habit is essentially being able to connect the dots like through pattern recognition very quickly and use all those information to make decisions to continue to supercharge business growth.
So you said you studied it a lot. So what are some of the things you studied that maybe our audience could also like learn or read or whatever? Where are you getting the information from that's been most helpful?
I would say that's a great question. That again, that I can answer this in all the different ways based on your industry and your customers. But for consumer-based or even B2B based business, I think understanding your consumer and customer is the most critical part for me as a marketer. So I'm a strong believer for consumer-driven or customer-driven approach in the marketing sense. Like you have to understand your customer and consumers to be able for you to put together a strategy or selling them anything. So you wouldn't be able to make them to make any decisions before you really understand that, right? It's just a human psychology. So I would say like being able to understand your consumer is going to be one of the best things you will ever do in your business.
Nice. So knowing your people, feedback from the people, but I also picture you as somebody who's reading case studies and stuff. I don't know why that is, but I just picture you probably one of the people that are reading articles and reading information. Am I right about that?
I skim through information, skim through, or like articles. You will be surprised I don't like to read, even though I have different like I have a pretty good like I have a degrees like and all that kind of stuff, but when I was at school I really don't like to read. So like I like to learn things as I grow. So I like to put things in the actual practices. I think that's the fastest way of learning all the different nuances or even human psychologies, because you're interacting with people that are constantly changing as opposed to textbooks. So those are the things that drives more interest to me versus just reading articles. But sometimes I will read them once in a while and I listen to audiobooks. Yeah.
Oh,
so I
can audiobooks and podcasts.
Yeah. So I multitask. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So talk to us about, with all this experience, all the different things you've been in and out of and all the different things you've done, what is some of the best advice you've been given about marketing?
Yeah, I would say for entrepreneurs, best advice is really understand your clarity and also understand your passion. So I talked about this called winning triangle. It's like before you really ship your market on the scalable kind of environment, you need to understand your product market fit and your pricing. So product market fit it's not something new. People have been talking about this for decades. It's essentially understanding who's the key audiences that's going to purchase your product and are they scalable. So once you do have the initial MVP, you understand your product is going to be loved, not liked, but loved by certain audiences. Then you need to figure out what the pricing is for those audiences, right? So a lot of B2B and SaaS platforms starting with a freemium just because they want to get traction, they want to get customer base. But essentially, in the end, what really determines your revenues is essentially how your pricing strategies plays out. So being able to understand your customers in segments because they all have a different behaviors or different triggers, and being able to set up the pricing tiers that's like acceptable and being able to take your customer actions in a scalable way is going to be a very critical strategy, because essentially if you charge a platform, for example, if a product is $6.99 versus $7.99, it's $1 difference, but if you have 1 million audiences, that's $1 million difference. So how business really project your revenue and maximize your revenue driven strategy is essentially pricing has become really critical in this sense. So that's why I'm kind of advocating this winning triangles is product marketing and also your pricing.
So when you have let's say you have a medium-sized business, at what point do you use the grab the data, look at the information and tell them, hey, listen, it's time to start raising your prices? Is there like a certain percentage of sales? Is there like some metrics that we can use to help us?
Yes, A/B testing. So you can essentially do small market tests for certain audiences or certain geos, test the appetite of how the conversion rate looks like when you raise certain percentage of the pricing. So it could be structured in a way to help you understand the business performance and the relations to your pricing for as acceptance by your consumers. So there are different ways to structure this, but usually I would say don't let your intuition tell you what to do, but more kind of relying on market data and the consumer in market responses.
Nice. Don't go by your instincts. That's such a data person answer right there. That is
Yeah.
that is it. That is the data person talking.
Yeah.
We're going to finish off with your business here in a second, but talk to us next about a time that you had a loss or you thought it was a loss and it turned out to be really a win.
Yeah, I love this question. So I think like the loss I thought I had was when I decided to leave the corporation and starting my own business, because it was such a safe environment. You get paycheck bi-weekly into your bank, and you know exactly what you do to get you certain amount of net worth. So it was a very comfortable environment. But I went to B school. I went to Wharton for B school, and I learned this entrepreneurship like idea through acquisition, but also building your own business. And that's what I feel like it needs to be done once in a lifetime, right? Like life is long. So like if it continues riding the corporate ladder, like how long, like I would never experience anything else. So initially it was uncomfortable, but I already had some clientele to start my own business. So I decided to jump. And then I would say it was painful to begin with. I'm not gonna lie, because there's so many things I need to navigate myself. The tax situation, like all the different things, setting up my own LLC, all those kind of things. And then it's all kind of like the expertise that I need to learn, right? So it was essentially a blue ocean that I dived in myself. But I would say like after a year or two, I would say this is one of the best experiences I had in my life. I never regretted to take this path. And then if I'm gonna do it one more time, I would do it. So I really do think this is like, I thought it was a loss, but it was actually a win, just because I expanded my knowledge graph into a new territory and understand more of how driving business nuances is. And then I'm also, because eventually my goal is to, building my own business portfolio. So this is essentially represent the step one of me entering into my retirement, leading up to my retirement. Right? So like, so I think it's a big win for me.
So all right. So you say step one in 5 years. If we come back and do this podcast again in 5 years, where are you going to be?
Yeah, so because I've been exploring this idea of entrepreneurship through acquisition, so I'm actually actively in market to purchase a business. So in 5 years, if we do talk again, and then I would love the opportunity, and I think I will be already buying businesses and also establishing businesses using my marketing superpower, because that's all I know what to do and how to drive business success.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. Okay, cool. So we're going to get into the final stages, which is you talking about where your business is, or what your business is specifically, and where people can get more information and set up a time to talk with you.
Yes, I am the founder and the growth architect of Signal Growth, where it's a fractional CMO collective where we help entrepreneurship and founders to supercharge their business through the Fortune 500 company level growth secrets. So we encapsulate decades of experience of how to drive Fortune 500 company growth through different lenses at different growth stages to really help the entrepreneurs to build that framework. So all the mistakes me and my team has made in the past decades, you don't need to make again. That's the power of when you are working with us. So that's just a 30-second pitch for my business.
Nice. And you have a LinkedIn and a website?
Yes, I do have. Yes, LinkedIn and website. LinkedIn is Kathie Feng, Feng. Find me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and then we can chat. Nice. And website is signalgrowth.ai. So I'm happy to send over the link afterwards, but either way, find me and then chat with me. I can answer anything of marketing of your business.
That is awesome. All right. So I appreciate your help and your time. Although I am not a data person, we are exact opposites, which is perfect for this conversation. I am not a data person. In college, I actually cheated off the girl next to me in my data class, stats class. I did not do any of that stuff. So it's been great to hear your perspective, and we appreciate your time and your knowledge and your market expertise today. Thanks for joining us.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
And if authentic, practical marketing resonates with you, be sure to visit livelocalwarmmarketing.com and learn to grow your business on Warm Marketing Referrals.